I launched, we launched Valens, which is our institutional investment research business, and later Altimetry, which is our individual family, I'll say more retail investment research business. We launched, we said we don't want to have, we knew this, we said we don't want to have all the perverse incentives that we saw that Wall Street research has. We didn't want to have the biases that we're aware of that Wall Street research, whatever, has. And picking out, what's wrong with Wall Street research is like, I don't know, challenging an 8-year-old to jujitsu or something, right? It's like taking candy from a baby. So we said, no, let's study like some other big decision errors. And we studied Fukushima, the nuclear, right, thing. We studied the 2 spatial disasters. We studied what happened with Deepwater Horizon. And there's a lot of research, right? A lot of research went in saying what happened. And what kept coming up over and over again, yes, well, lots and lots of the 100+ biases, right? There was, the survivorship bias, and there was loss aversion bias, and hindsight bias, and rose-colored glasses, and everything you could think of in terms of biases. But all of them kept coming down to why did they have the biases? And it was fear or hubris. The word hubris came up over and over again. Then they were basically saying the biases were symptoms. The source of the cognitive error was a bad state of mind, a negative state of mind. It could be either fearful, and if you're fearful, you won't speak your mind, and you get caught up in groupthink because you don't want other people to know what you're thinking and whatever. Or you're loss aversion. You don't want to lose your job, but you're not worried about losing the entire, oil rig because you're more worried about that loss aversion. It's a perverse incentive, but it happened, right? The people knew bad things were happening, and they, as they said with Fukushima, they purposely swept it under the carpet because they didn't want to be the one that said, oh, sorry, Tokyo Electric doesn't know what they're doing, right, in their work. So when we looked at that, we said, so what are the antidotes to that, right? The antidotes to being overly, I guess, having hubris or fear. And I was looking at my own life, and I said, this is when we're launching Valens. I said, so if we're running this firm, my personal problems are going to leak out to the rest of the firm, right? How can you not if you're the firm, right? And one of them was what was that? The wrong. I did not like saying I was wrong. That was a real issue, right? There was something about it. Another one is probably the most dangerous word in the English language, which is should, which I said all the time. It should be this way. Why should it be that way? You should have known this. I should have known this. They should have known this, right? That's a dangerous word. And another one is just being proud. I'm proud of this. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud of my background. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of my achievements. These are dangerous, dangerous states of mind that, if you look, will lead to those 100+ biases, right? Other ones, I mean, anger or whatever else you can name them: anger, fear, desire, apathy, right? 7 deadly sins, basically, right? Are all these low consciousness level states of mind that lead to all these cognitive biases. What's the antidote, teach them? Well, the antidote to pride, one is maybe humility. That was a tough one because I wrote a paper on humility. It was fantastic. It was so good I decided not to share it with anybody. But the other side is that someone said, why not just be joyful instead of prideful? So instead of being proud of your kids, which sets them up for a fall, it does. Instead of being proud of my heritage, so if I'm proud of being the only Filipino Jew in the room, it's very difficult for someone who's not a Filipino Jew to also join me. But if I say, I have joy in being a Filipino, you can be joyful with me. You can enjoy Filipino food, right? If I'm joyful in my Hebrew heritage, you can also be joyful with me. But once I'm proud, it's prejudicial, right? And so I said, all right, anytime I want to use the word proud, let me say joy, right? I enjoy seeing my kids' effort in their grades as opposed to enjoying the grades themselves, right? And it changed the entire mindset, right? And obviously, I hope this leaks through and bleeds through our firm. Instead of being wrong and always finding something wrong or finding something wrong, whatever, just acceptance, right? Which, let me use a bigger term like being peaceful and just saying, here's the way things are. You're talking about every one of these makes for bad investing decisions, right? If you don't solve it, versus let me accept the way things are. Let me be peaceful. Let me be joyful. And another one, which is forgiveness, right? I was super hard on myself. We all are type A personalities, right? If you're in this room, it's probably because you're really hard on yourself. At some point, I was hard on myself. I was hard on other people, and just saying, let me learn to be more forgiving. Forgiving of what happened, forgiving whatever, and then operate from that state of mind of forgiveness instead of the state of mind of how do I fix what was wrong. Versus let me forgive what was wrong, but now let me look at what isn't. You could call it maybe lovingness. So I have a checklist for how I can be more loving and joyful and peaceful, like every moment. And my checklist is something I look at every day and think about every day. And believe it or not, there's only one thing on this checklist. There's only one thing on the checklist, which is why we need a checklist. And it's meditate daily. Meditate daily. And I find that I am better at everything. I'm better at everything. I'm better at sports. I'm better at crushing my sister in Scrabble. If I meditate beforehand. If I meditate an hour before I play Scrabble, I'm strangely so much better than if I don't. So much that my sister will beat me if I don't meditate. Right? And then she started beating me, and I found out she started meditating before also. And I was like, get back to this balance. But I meditate daily. And after doing this for a while, right, and I can't run around my firm telling everyone, don't have this bias, don't have this bias. I can't go around trying to figure out what each person's individual bias is. So instead, I gave up on that. I just said every day and every weekly call, we have an all-hands call, I'm focused on saying, just in everything you do, for our firm or whatever, just be either more loving, more joyful, or more peaceful. And I believe that will offset the bad states of mind that lead to the cognitive biases that I'm trying to avoid in the first place. Because I can't tell everyone what the 100 biases are, because they're different for everyone. But I know that if I just focus on everyone being more loving, joyful, and peaceful, it'll work. So after years of meditating on this, I finally realized, and I said, so wait a second, why am I working so hard? Why am I trying to do all this? Why do I spend all this time? Why do I meditate? Why do I do whatever? Right? Why do I try to get more money? Why do you have family? Other than I want more, love and joy and peace, like in my life. I said, and so the way I'm achieving love and joy and peace is by being loving and joyful and peaceful, like right now, which makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Anyway, that's it. I hope you get something out of today that makes you more loving and joyful and peaceful in your days. And thank you for joining us. Dave, thank you. Henry, thanks for everything.